Hi there, Andrey. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. I'm very happy to see that you have begun the course and that you've started writing essays as part of the program. So let's take a look at this first set. The first one is about schools and whether they should be more entertaining. So let's see what you said here. Okay, the majority of teachers are only focused on educating their pupils. Nevertheless, some of them add several elements of entertainment. I am convinced that educational institutes ought to employ more engaged, might be helpful approach. Okay, um, this is good in certain respects. I like that you tried to use your own language, your own words to rephrase the topic. However, there are a couple of problems that we have to talk about. Uh, First of all, there was a mistake in some of the grammar, so we have to look at that. And then also, I almost feel like you rephrased it too much. And what I mean by that is that you didn't bring into this the idea that um, there is this kind of conflict whether schools should remain purely academic or if they should include more entertainment. In other words, reading your introduction, I am not 100% able to kind of guess what the topic, what the question you had is without reading it. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, when I read your introduction, I should be able to understand what question you were asked. And the way you've rephrased it, I'm not entirely able to do that. Okay? So that's one thing. The other thing is the grammar, as I mentioned. So I want to fix that. It's just in the second sentence here. I am convinced that educational institutes ought to employ more engaging, possibly playful approaches. Okay? So that fixes the grammar. I can't say I love that sentence, even when it's grammatically correct. So we could rephrase it again and say, I am convinced that educational institutes ought to employ more entertaining elements into lessons. That would be fine. Okay, so let's move on. First, less formal, however engageable way of teaching allows a student to be more involved in knowledge acquisition. This is because such an approach forces students to be better motivated for discovering certain topics or subjects. For example, a great number of middle schools in Finland, which provides one of the best education in the world, practice teaching science disciplines via games and experiments. As a result, per the Economist Journal, their graduates have the highest score in applied physics and chemistry. Therefore, an approach to education with some elements of entertainment has already been recognized as an effective one. Okay, so the good news here is that in terms of coherence and cohesion, I think you did a very, very good job. It's a very nicely organized, cohesive paragraph. You had ideas, you had support, and so all of that is very good. Where we ran into some problems again was with your grammar and some vocabulary. So I want to read the paragraph once again, this time correcting some of it. This, for me, was just wrong vocabulary, this whole first section. Less formal, however engageable way of teaching. You're missing an article, so it should have been a less formal, however engageable. But again, engageable is not a word that we would use here. So let's try it one more time. First, a less formal, however, entertaining way of teaching allows students, with an S, to be more involved in knowledge acquisition. This is because such an approach, the right word here is forces, but forces might not carry the meaning you want. So you could potentially use another word. Let's see. I wanted motivated. So why don't we try that? This is because such an approach motivates students to discover certain topics or subjects. You see, you didn't even have to use all of this. You didn't have to say it forces students to be better motivated. Because that's just it's unnecessary. Okay. So, for example, a great number of middle schools in Finland, which provides one, you were missing an E here, of the best educations S in the world, practice teaching science disciplines via games and experiments. That was fine. And this was fine. And then here, has already been recognized with a D as an effective one. And then you're fine. Okay? So good, but just needed a little work here. So, second, although the initial goal of schools and universities is to educate people, they cannot stay focused on such an activity only. Modern education systems, here you either need a the or you need a plural. So, the modern education system also supports the purposes of socialization and health maintenance. To elaborate, pupils are trained with an ED how to collaborate with each other. Moreover, balance between leisure and work. Now, here you don't need an A, here or here. These cannot be done by seminars and lectures, URES, solely. For instance, per government reports, over 80% of schools in the United States, you don't need a comma, run out of class activities such as camps and outdoor games that are designed with an ED to entertain plus socialize children. What do you mean they run out of? I think you've misinterpreted what this expression means. Thus, nowadays, the entire activity at schools could not be dedicated to education alone. Good paragraph. I like your ideas. I like the way you structured it. There were just a couple of little grammatical things once again. So let's continue. To reiterate, some elements of entertainment in class allow, because it's elements, allow young people to improve their subject expertise, whereas schools cannot serve educational purposes alone. That is why I advocate teachers add more interaction in the curriculum and believe that in the future knowledge to be... I advocate teachers add more interaction in the curriculum. This is a little awkward, okay? And believe that in the future knowledge be delivered. Yeah, it's still kind of awkward. I advocate this. I'm going to think about this aloud for a second, okay, Andrey? That is why I advocate teachers. I kind of want this to be an ing. I do want to look it up, but that is why I advocate teachers adding more interaction in the curriculum and believe that in the future, I believe that in the future, knowledge should be delivered via more relaxed and I don't think you mean less casual. I think you mean more casual means of teaching. Okay, so it's fine. Obviously, there were some elements of that last section that were a little awkward, and so you needed to work on them. But on the whole, I liked this first essay. I think for a first essay, it's very good. So you're starting off at a great point, okay? We just have to worry about some of those grammatical things. I want you to do some revision on articles and how we use them because that was a consistent problem in this essay. Let's take a look at your next article, your next essay here about doing an enjoyable activity with a child. It is stated that reading can improve the skill set and support young people in producing efficiently than enjoyable tasks they perform with their parents or peers. I am convinced that leisure activity is the best form of capabilities development because of active involvement and interest. Okay. I want to fix some of this again. Let's look at it. It is stated that reading can improve the skill set of young people and support them in producing creatively, because remember, there's this whole thing about creativity here, rather than enjoyable tasks they perform with their parents or peers. I am convinced that leisure activities leisure activity is. All right, fine. That leisure activity is the best form of, this is a little awkward. We don't call it capabilities development. Just say skills development. That's fine. So it's the best form of skills development because of active involvement and interest. Okay, and I don't even think you needed a comma here, but then it's fine. So, knowledge, learning, and information discovering process. All right, again, you need a the here. Knowledge, learning, and the information. This is awkward. It still doesn't work with the. You know what the problem is, Andrey? This doesn't really create a collocation. I mean, you've put these words together, but they don't form a combination of words that feels particularly natural to an English speaker. So I would actually replace this with something else. Why don't we do this? Knowledge learning and the process of discovering information is more effective via, again, this isn't a collocation, a leisurely approach because young people are more engaged and interested in accomplishing a task. Recent research, you don't need a comma here, conducted by the University of California mentions that over 90% of infants learn a foreign language via computer games twice as efficiently as their other peers who used workbooks alone. Therefore, skill sets, you need an S here, are more effectively developed by performing a job that entertains young students. Okay, so this is fine. Again, structurally, in terms of the development, I liked everything. It's just the grammar. You could see that consistently I had to fix things. And so that's going to keep an essay like this from getting one of those higher scores. I don't know what score you need. That is some information that would be very helpful. But like I said, the grammar here was kind of I mean, it was consistently an issue that I needed to correct, so just be aware of that. So, continuing, undoubtedly, enjoyable activity. All right, here, an enjoyable activity is more creativity. You can't say that. Undoubtedly, an enjoyable activity develops more creativity than reading because it requires active involvement, which encourages young people developing, sharing, and securing their ideas rather than merely consuming information written on pages. To illustrate, data, you don't need the comma here. To illustrate, data published by Educational Department of California, again, don't need a comma, states that elementary school students, you don't need a comma, who were trained via in-class games and practice drawing contests, again, don't need a comma, are more creative in comparison to students from educational facilities which, because they're things, not people, utilize a classical approach. Hence, due to relaxed conditions, leisure assignments allow students, you're missing a word here, to master creative skills effectively. To reiterate, high involvement and interest level let performance. To reiterate, high involvement and interest level allow, I don't understand this. Performance effectively to support, there's some awkwardness here. I really don't know what you're trying to say. Support certain skills development and boost creativity without the. Although reading is an important element of any education, I believe that regular fun assignments, S, should be employed by the majority of schools as well. Furthermore, I hope that in the future, enjoyable activities will be widely deployed by parents to support their child's apostrophe S education at an early age. All right, so even in that last paragraph, there were some grammar problems. Sorry. Okay, I want to look at the task again, see what you were asked to write. Doing an enjoyable activity with a child can develop better skills and more creativity than reading. To what extent do you agree? Let's see where you talked about reading. You talked about it here. More effective. Okay, you didn't explicitly say reading, but that was implied, so that was okay. And then here you did compare it to reading, and so I do like that. So yes, as far as task achievement is concerned, I thought you did a good job. I also like the fact that your ideas are cohesive. You're linking together really well. So all of this is very well controlled. It's very well handled. In this essay, what I am concerned about, as you can probably imagine, is the grammar. There were a lot of mistakes, and there were places where it led to a lack of coherence. And so I want you to be careful about that and work on some of these grammatical issues. Okay, so that's it for your first set. Let's talk about what the next steps are. The first thing you need to do is correct these essays using the suggestions in this video. The second thing is create an error correction list where you write down the mistakes and next to each mistake the correct version. You want to add to that with every essay correction you get back from us. And the third thing you need to do is write a new set of essays. So take all three things when they're ready and send them to us together, and we can keep going and help you progress with your IELTS preparation. Okay, so I'll be waiting for you.